Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Teacher Kamilia and today I will be talking about the development of childhood occupation from birth to 2 years old. So let's get started in the next slides. What is childhood occupation? So, like every adult, we have our own jobs and our occupations to do in our workplace and in our offices, aligned with the jobs that we have. So, for example, a doctor needs to treat a patient, a lawyers have to attend cases, and a teacher to teach students. This is the same for our kids or for students as well, or for children to meet the development that they have to achieve by the certain ages for or certain milestones. So simply put, a child's occupations are the daily activities they engage in. A child participates in different kinds of occupations throughout the day, including eating, toileting, learning, playing, and any basic daily life activities. So these occupations are very essential to a child's development and to ensure that they become independent adults in the future. So this is to prepare them for the upcoming developments and upcoming things they have to achieve or go through in the future. So for today's topic, I'm going to touch on the child occupations or the development of child's occupation from the age of birth to 2 years old. So the play occupations of infants started from or in the first 12 months of their lives are exploratory and also social play. So what is exploratory play? So exploratory play is also called sensory motor play, where an activity is performed simply of the enjoyment or at the enjoyment of physical sensation that these children feel. So they would start exploring their parents' hair and face just to make sure that they get to know the caregivers or the parents of theirs, and the parents holding support the infants play with objects. It is also a repetitive movement in order to create actions in toys for the sensory sensations or sensory experiences in hearing, seeing, and feeling. For example, the toys that can create song, such as the toy that they have to pull and then, or they have to knock in order to get sounds out of them, or anything that they bite and there are lights. The chewing toys um, that create lights. So they would have these all of the sensations uh, that can be created. However, for social play, it is related to bonding with caregivers. It is including parents, teachers, or grandparents, and it begins with smiling and cooing, imitation, or peekaboo. So things like smiling and responding, making eye contacts, or calming down when held by a familiar adult are all social and emotional milestones that most babies express and explore by a certain age. So they, by this age, they would already know which one are their parents or which one that take care of them every single day. So it is focused on attachment and bonding with parents or any caregivers, such as grandparents or their mates. These are the development of play occupations of infants from birth to 6 months old. So for their play occupations, exploratory play and also social play for their upcoming or development milestones. So exploratory play, as I mentioned earlier, is a sensory motor that dominates or predominates, and then social play that can focus or focused on attachment and bonding with their parents. However, for the performance skills, there are regulatory sensory organization. They would start to be quiet when picked up, which means they get the sensation of being cared for or feeling comfortable, comfy, and then they would start to relax, smile, and vocalize when helped. Vocalize means from crying, they would be quiet because they get the sensation that they want, and then they love cuddles. They are or they get expressive or they react when listening to a familiar voice and uses hands and mouth to explore or sensory exploration of objects. For example, they'll start holding your face or parents' face to be able to recognize that this is my parents or these are my caregivers. And then for their fine motor and manipulation, they would start follows moving person with their eyes. So for example, when their parents leave them, they would know that they won't be around them anymore, and then uses variety of palmar grasping patterns, which means they are using all of their fingers when grasping something. For example, when holding your hand, if you're familiar with babies, you would know that when they grab our finger, they will hold um, all of their fingers. That is palma, all of 5 fingers used. And then they would start secure object with hand and brings to mouth. So they start putting things inside their mouth to explore the sensation inside their mouth. And then they would transfer objects from hand to hand. For example, they would hold it on their right hand and then move it to the left hand to again create the sensation. And then they would play with hands at midline. Midline means this. So when they will grab at the midline of their hands, so like this. So next, for their gross motor or mobility, these kids or these infants or these babies will start lifting their heads around the age of 3 to 4 months and raises trunk. Trunk is at the back or the trunk of neck when prone. Prone is lying forward like this on the floor. And then they would start to kick when supine. Supine means laying on your back, and then sits propping on hands, play or bounces when standing with support of parents. So they will start to want to stand up, and then they would start rolling from place to place or when you're doing tummy time with them. And then cognitive means something that do with brain. They will start to repeat action for pleasurable experiences. For example, as I said earlier, they would start putting things inside their mouth. So when they get the sensation of pleasurable experience, they will start doing it more often. And then they would start to use hand and mouth to explore objects, as I mentioned earlier. And then they would start to search with sounds, for sounds with their eyes. So how if they get to hear anything loud, they would start to turn their heads and try to find the sounds. Or for example, when they start to hear their names being called, it's not that they understand that it's their name, but it's the same frequency every single day, so they would know that maybe the parents are calling their name. So they would start to look around and explore. And then they would start banging objects on table. So for example, during feeding time, they would start taking things or their toys and banging on the table to get the sound. And then they would start to integrate information from multiple sensory systems. And however, for social, they would start cooing and then squealing, and then they would start smiling and laughing out loud. If you're doing peekaboo with them or anything silly, they would start laughing, and then they would start to express discomfort by crying. So for example, if they're hungry or their pampers or diapers are full, and that's the way of them to communicate with the caregivers. And then they would start to communicate simple emotions through facial expressions. For example, if something is not pleasant, like being hungry or full diapers, they will start crying. Or when they're happy, they will start smiling, laughing, um, and such. Secondly, we will take a look at the development of play occupations from the age of 6 to 12 months old or 6 to 1 year old. So for their play occupations, they will start having functional play. So we're going to start on this exploratory play first. This sensory motor play evolves into functional play, and then they start to use toys according to their functional purpose. And then for their social play, they would start to have attachment to their parents or caregivers and start to play around with their parents and caregivers. For their performance skills, regulatory or sensory organization, they would enjoy being held more in the air and moving rapidly to through the air. For example, we would start seeing parents like lifting their babies up and they start giggling, and it's this the suitable age for them to play around with that. And then they would start to listen, to switch without being distracted, so they would be able to give more attention or more focus. And then figure fits themselves, including a variety of food textures. So at this age, you can start letting your babies to explore different textures of food. For example, you can have mashed potato, and then carrots, or anything mushy peas, applesauce, and then something they can grab, such as carrots, broccoli, and then rice, and they will start to cooperate with dressing. So before this, they would start probably just being static, but right now if you ask them to lift up their hands or lift up their legs, they would be more cooperative. And for their fine motor or manipulation, they will start to mouth toys, licking, putting mouth toys inside their mouth, and then using accurate and direct reach for toys. So they would know which toys they want, and they would start reaching for it, and it will be accurate. Before this, maybe around the age of birth to 6 months old, they would just start to reach but without aiming it. But right now, they would be able to do um, aiming and grab the correct toys that they want. And then they would play toys at midline and transfer from hand to hand. They will also start waving toys in the air and grasp small objects in fingertips. So taking anything, for example, they would see toys on the floor and they'll start grabbing it. And then they would start pointing to toys with their index finger, and then that's the sign for parents to know which one they want. So they would start pointing at the toys that they want, and then they would start using index finger as well to explore toys. For gross motor or mobility, these babies around the age from 6 to 12 months old will start to sit independently. However, at the start, they will need support from parents. So, parents can sit babies right up and then stand by at the back, just in case they fall down. So, it will gradually increase from not being able to sit independently to being able to sit independently. And then they will start rolling from place to place, for example during tummy time, and then they would start wanting to stand up, however need support, so parents can hold their hands when they're standing up, or putting these babies at a stick or anything solid for them to stand up on their own. And again, please prepare at the back, or please stand by at the back just in case they fall down. And then they will start playing while standing up, or however needing to support by leaning. And then they will start crawling on belly initially, and then they will start to crawl on all fours, which means both palms of both hands and both knees at the age of 10 months. And for 12 months they will start to walk, however need support, so being handheld lah. For cognitive, they will start to respond to their own name. For example, as I said earlier, babies around the age from birth to 6 months old, they will start to be familiar with the frequency of their own name. But around this age, they will start to know that, for example, Sarah is their name. So they will start responding, and then they would be able to recognize words and family members' names. For example, they would know which one is mama, which one is papa, which one is tok mommy, which one is tok daddy. So they would know each person has their own names, and then they would know words such as eating. Do you want to or do you want to mum? Do you want susu? And so on. And then they would start to respond with appropriate gestures. For example, if we ask, do you want to or do you want to eat? They will start responding with nodding or shaking their head as no. And then they will start to listen selectively, and then imitate simple gestures. For example, clapping hands or high five. They will start to know these actions relate to the words that are being said. and then they will start to look at picture book without understanding them. For example, we're going to start to give them flashcards or any storybooks with a lot of pictures, so we can start teaching them this is giraffe, this is elephant, and then they will start to take objects out of container, so they know that if they want something, they would start reaching for it and take it out of the container to being able to hold it or have it. And for social, they start to show special dependence on mother, so they would know, oh, with mama I can get everything, I can get milk, I can get to eat, because mother is the most, I would say, close to them, because we mothers are with them all the time. And then they will start to show stranger anxiety. So if they meet with people that they aren't familiar with, or people that they don't meet often, they will start to get anxiety, so they will start being scared or being shy. And then they would lift their arms up to be picked up, so we know if they show this one, lifting their arms up, they want to be picked up. And then they will start to interact briefly with other infants. So for example, they will start sharing toys or giving toys or taking toys from other infants, and then they would play give and take, and then respond playfully to mirror, so they would know inside is a reflection of them, so they would know to make silly faces or uh, laughing in order to interact with the mirror. So these are the development of play occupations and performance skills of infants from the age of 12 to 18 months. For their play occupations, for relational and functional play, they will start to engage in simple pretend play directed to itself. For example, if we gave them a cooking set or a cashew set, they will start to um, eating the fig bread or drinking the fig tea during tea time or along with their dolls, and they will start to demonstrate initiative or imitative play from an immediate model. And for their gross motor play, they will start to explore all spaces in the room. So they will start running, um, or start walking around all over the house. And house with stairs, they will start to want to climb up the stairs. And then they will start rolling and crawling in play close to the ground. And for the social play, they will start to begin peer interactions. They will start playing with other babies. They will start sharing and knocking toys together, and then they will start parallel play. Parallel play is playing alongside other infants. For example, you have two toys, and then your baby and other baby will start playing together, but separately, not associatively. So for their performance skills, fine motor and manipulation, they will start to hold crayon or color pencils and make marks, scribbles on your sofa, on your walls. So you have to buy or prepare the washable ones. And then they will start holding two toys in hand and toys in both hands. But they will start stacking blocks and feed toys into form. For example, you give them a shape sorter. They would know square is in this space or in this shape. Circle is shape. They will start to be able to differentiate, and then they will start to attempt doing puzzles, pointing pictures or pointing things with their index fingers and using two hands to play. So one to hold or stabilize, and the other one to manipulate or play. So for example, putting a key inside a toy to turn and twist, so they will start having these bilateral movements. For gross motor or mobility, they will start to sitting in small chair, fitting their own body, playing while standing up, being able to walk well, squatting, picking toys from the ground if they're falling or if they fall from the floor, and then they will start to climb into adult chair because it's higher, so they would have to climb near up, flings ball, pulling toy when walking, begins to start running and then walking upstairs with one hand to hold or holding the railings, and then pushes and pulls large toys or boxes on floors. So they will start to explore all these different actions, different things, in order to get the sensations or knowing what's the purpose of doing these things. For cognitive play, they will start to act, or cognitive skills, they will start to act on object using variety of schema. Then you start to imitate model. Imitate model means imitate the TV or the cartoon that they watch on TV, YouTube, or start to imitate um, parents themselves. They will start to wanting to mop the floor, vacuum the floor because they see their caregivers or parents doing so, or they will start saying words, repeating words when they watch TV or YouTube, such as Miss Rachel, and then they will start to play with real props. So again, mopping the floor with mop, vacuum the floor with vacuum, and they start to understand how object works. So for example, they know that mop is to clean, or sweep, broom is for sweeping, cup is for drinking, and then they will start to use trial and error in problem solving. For example, if they don't get to play, or they don't get the toys that they want, they will start crying because they know if they cry they will get the toys. And then and recognize names or various parts of body, so they would know which one is nose, which one is mouth, which one are eyes. And then for the social, they will start to move away from parents. They want their own space. And then they will start sharing toys with parents. They know the word share. So you have to, share and play with other people. And then they will start respond to facial expressions of others. So they would know which one is happy. So smiling is happy, or mad, angry. Um, with this facial expression, they would know that their parents are angry. And then for regulatory sensory organization, they will start to enjoy mass activities. These are the time or suitable time to be able or to let them explore different textures, so they won't be so they would be familiar with it. So you can take out them out to play in the grass or in the sand. You can play kinetic sand or paint, finger painting, and reacts to extreme sensations such as warm, cold, or sweet, sour. They would give the expressions or body language to show that they are not comfortable, or it's discomforting them. So we're evolving, or we're going to development of play occupations and performance skills of toddlers around the age of 18 to 24 months or 2 years old. So at this age, their play occupations have been developed to four different types, such as functional play, gross motor play, pretend or symbolic play, and social play. So for functional play, they will start to have multi-scheme of combinations and perform multiple related to actions together. So they can do two or three or four even more actions than they usually do when they're babies or infants. And then they will start to have this enjoy sensory input of gross motor play, such as jumping, running. And then for pretend or simulate play, they would make inanimate objects alive or perform actions. So they would take their dolls and feeding them food, or fighting each other, hugging, dancing, and then pretend that objects are real, that they symbolize another object. So, for example, they would know that they can do actions that can pretend that they're robots or dolls or princess. And for social play, they will start to show interest in playing with peers, or playing with in a group of children at the park or at the playground. So they will start to interact with each other. And then for their performance skills, regulatory sensory organization, they will enjoy solitary play for a few minutes. Solitary play is playing alone, playing with themselves without interacting with other people. And then they will start to use Play-Doh for the texture and start to build things with Play-Doh, and then enjoys rough and tumble play, for example, pushing each other, fighting, pulling hair. So they would start to enjoy these things with their own siblings or friends. And then for fine motor or manipulation, they will start to complete 4 to 5 pieces puzzle, and then build tower, have Legos, and then they will start to building up. Oh, this is house, or this is castle, and then they will start to hold crayon in fingertips and draw simple figures such as straight lines, circle, triangle, and then to begin to use simple tools such as playing with hammer or screwing. They will start to explore other things or toys that symbolize real actions in real life, and then start to participate in multi-part tasks. So they know that, oh, I have to lift up, or I have to broom, or I have to sweep the floor, and Mama will vacuum the place. For example, they're just pretending, and then gross motor or mobility, they will start to running. They start to run, squat, climb on furnitures, climb on doors, grills. So we need to take extra caution of these kids at this age. Then they will start climbing on jungle gym and slides. They will start to want to climb tall tall places, and then they would start to move on and ride on toy without pedals, for example kiddie car or bicycles, and then start to kick ball forward. Before this, they would start kick ball randomly, but now they know that they have to kick it forward in order for the ball to go or move. And then throwing ball at a large target, so we know that they know how to aim better at this age. And then jumping with both feet in place and walks up and down the stairs with the try of bilateral foot or switching foot, right left, for better motor coordination. For the performance skills of cognitive, it can link multiple steps together and has their inanimate object to perform actions. For example, have their dolls to drink or have their puppets to fight each other, and then begin to use non-realistic objects in pretend play. Means they can use different things, different objects. For example, sand as soup or food, and then continue to use objects according to their functional purposes, knowing that, for example, knowing that cup is to drink, bowl is to eat, spoon is to scoop food, and then the object permanence is completely developed. Object permanence is knowing that things still exist even though you can't see them. For example, we're playing hide and seek. They know that their mother is under the blanket and not disappear. And then for the social play, they can start to express affection, knowing that they like playing with their uncles, aunties, and then love them, hugging them, and get excited when they see these people, and then show wide variety of emotions such as fear, anger, sympathy, joy, and they can start to feel frustrated when they don't get something, knowing that if they don't get toys that they want, they start to be angry, frustrated, and then enjoy solitary play such as coloring, building with themselves, and start to engage in parallel play. As I said earlier, they start to play alongside other people or other infants, other friends, but not playing with them, not communicating with them, just playing alongside, and then laughing when someone do something silly, such as silly faces, or pretending to fall, pretending to run over something. So they enjoy these actions. So why are child occupations important? So it is important because it impact health and well-being, provide a sense of justice, foster the meaning and purpose in life, and also shape one's identity in the future. So for health, it can enhance one's physical and cognitive functions, improve mental health, and contribute to health promotion and disease prevention. Second is wellness. It can meet our well-being needs, such as taking care of oneself, nurturing feelings, and self-worth self-worth and competence, and fostering a sense of belonging within one's family and community. It is also the ability to do things independently and choose what we want to do to help us to be more productive and content. For justice, it can um, shape our children to be able to engage in occupations that are meaningful to us, other people, and community to thrive, become empowered, and move toward social justice. Other than that, it can also give our children meaning so they will be able to do what makes them happy and essential to make life more meaningful. And for example, a child who loves music may enjoy learning an instrument or learning to dance solely because they are able to do music as a way to cheer themselves up purpose. With the right occupational opportunities and abilities, a child can gain hope and strive to engage in a different life occupations such as riding a bike or do cartwheel, handstand, other and so on. And I can also allow them to hope more goals and be motivated to achieve them. Next is identity, is to help them to know who they are and namely what they want to do in daily basis. So children are occupational beings themselves. That is all from me. Thank you for watching, parents. Bye bye.